Welcome to this edition of the Simsbury View. My name is Dominique Avery. As we enter the month of March, we inch closer to the first day of spring. That's when Tennyson said a young man's fancy turns to thoughts of love. If he'd lived here, he'd probably have said, at least for the last 6 years, spring means thoughts of the Simsbury Adventure Triathlon. Here at SCTV, it means we're back in the studio talking about the event. Here to discuss it this year, I want to welcome back Andrea Buono, the race director, and Patty Smith-Jacobus, who is with the Triathlon Committee and co-chair of the Simsbury Bike Ped Advisory Committee. That's a mouthful. Joining them for the first time is Martin Doyle McMahon, who's an open water swimmer, has swum the English Channel, and has competed in almost every one of our Simsbury events. I'm really so glad to welcome all of you here. I always enjoy this show. Patty, I'm going to ask you first. When people hear the word triathlon, they most likely think of a run, bike, swim event. But the event here is very different.
It's very different. First of all, it's an early season event, and we use the Farmington River as our water leg of the event, and it's a run, bike, paddle. So people use kayaks for that segment of the event, and it's very attractive to a lot of people not to have to get in the water in early May.
We were just before we went on the air. We were just talking about how the water is cold. You are a cold water swimmer. You like to swim in the cold.
That's right. You know, I'm mostly a swimmer by trade, but I discovered this event 6 years ago. Being a local event, I really wanted to participate, kind of cross training. I do some running, some cycling, and some kayaking, and so once I did it once, I wanted to kind of do it every year. Unfortunately, I had one injury year, so I couldn't do it, but it's a great event.
So, Patty, before I get to you, Andrew.
That's fine.
Why Simsbury? Why did this incredible event start here?
Well, because Simsbury is incredible. Our Economic Development Commission did a research study 6 years ago, 7 now, to determine exactly what lured people to Simsbury, both to visit and to live. And our bike trail kept coming up as a real attraction. Our hiking trails are another incredible attraction, and we have the Farmington River that runs right through town. So it's a recreation destination. So one of the ideas to attract more people to town was to feature those fabulous parts of Simsbury, the running and the biking and the river activities.
Andrea, how long have you been involved in this? When did you become race director?
This is going to be my 3rd year as race director here in the 7th season of this race.
And what attracted you to it?
Well, I'm a race director by trade, and actually the past race director was a good friend of mine, and she had retired, so she had told me all about this race, and I couldn't see it die. I mean, it just because it's such a unique race. I love that it does have the kayak portion versus the swim, which again, like Patty mentioned, it is an attraction to it. And I love the idea of holding a race in town, bringing other people in from out of state to get to see Simsbury and enjoy Simsbury, and hopefully return back. That's the whole idea behind this race, to return back to Simsbury and enjoy the river, the hiking trails, the extensive bike path that leads numerous places from town to town.
So if I recall correctly, and I'm not sure whether you mentioned it, last year you added a duathlon.
Correct, yes.
And how did that go?
That went well. It did attract some people.
And explain what a duathlon is.
So well, for our race, a duathlon is a run, bike, run by trade. And we did do that with this race. So we just cut out the kayak portion. So with our duathlon, we had the 5K meadow run, like we do with the triathlon. The same 12-mile bicycle. It's a 2-loop bike. And then instead of getting into the kayak, the duathletes had an opportunity to run back to another 5K run back to the finish through the meadows. And we actually had a family come in from Pennsylvania last year. So I think more families like the idea of the duathlon as well, because they can either do it as a family. It's a little, if the kids aren't strong kayakers, or they can do it as a team. You know, they could, maybe the child or the younger adult can bike, and a parent can decide to run.
Martin, your favorite thing about the triathlon, I'm assuming you do the triathlon
Yes.
and not the duathlon.
That's right.
What's your favorite thing?
I just love the fact that it's all three sports. I mean, the fact that you can, try your hand in all three of them. You don't have to be great at one of them. I think it's a very accessible event. I think anybody that's done some athletics in Simsbury or in surrounding area could do this event. The first year I did it on my own. The second year, I convinced two sets of friends to do relays, and a couple of them have gone on to do the individuals. So you can kind of build on it.
How is it sort of competitively, how is it different from like swimming or doing a major swim?
Well, I'm a long distance swimmer, which some people call it's a very solitary sport. Your head's down in the water for hours at a time. So I think there's a lot of camaraderie. I mean, I talk to people during the run and the bike. You pass people back and forth, so I think it's a much more social event.
So you have fun.
Oh, I have a blast.
Do you have fun doing long swims?
Yeah, I do, because I'm a little different. But this is definitely more social, and the volunteers are incredible. The Boy Scouts. I've lost some weight this year, but I did it one year. I weighed 263 pounds, and the Boy Scouts had to pull me in my kayak out of the water at the end, and I think I had a couple hernias. But again, my point is, you don't have to. There'll be a few people that do it that are very competitive, and they're here to win the event or win their age group. But for most of us, it's just here to have some fun.
So the Bridge of Flowers has a major change this year. There is now a real park there, Hopbrook Landing they're calling it, and that figures that landing figures very importantly in the kayak race. How is that going to be different this year? Is it going to be an improvement?
I believe so, yes, as far as getting the kayaks into the water, into the
Are you
Farmington
going
River.
in on did you always go in there?
Yes, but before there was a abandoned house there, and we'd had to go around the house.
And the poison ivy.
Yeah, and
It was like an obstacle course to get
yeah,
into the
so
water
this
with the kayaks.
really opens up the river, and it's so much easier to launch off the kayaks this year, for sure.
And where do they get out?
And then they return. They are 1 mile upriver, and we have a volunteer up there, someone who's also on our committee, who will turn them around. They come back down 1 mile, and then they go under the Flower Bridge, and then they exit right there at the boathouse. There's a dock there that they can.
So to me, this race seems like an extraordinary feat of logistics. I don't know how you guys do it. People drop off their kayaks, they drop off their bikes. Who can tell me how this works and who thought?
Well,
he
we
is
have transition.
Yeah, right. And we have an incredible committee.
Okay,
And
so but
Martin
give me
is
some
part
of
our
the
committee.
details because I think I'm always impressed by people who organize, and this must be a great feat. Of
Well, you
organization.
really rely on your committee. They're the heartbeat of everything, and then the volunteers, of course. We need numerous of volunteers that are stationed throughout the race, at the start, on the run, in bike transition. Make sure all the people can bring their bikes. The participants bring their bikes and drop it off that morning. So we have a bunch of volunteers in the bike transition that will watch their bikes, watch them, help them rack their bikes, make sure they stay safe. When the participant gets to the bike after the run, they help them get on their bike and lead them the correct way. Then we have volunteers all out in the bike course, directing people, helping people, make sure everybody's safe. When they come back to the bike transition, we have the volunteers there and some of our staff members making sure that they get safely off their bike and lead them directly either to the kayak part or back safely to the run if they're doing a duathlon. If they're going to the kayak, it's all volunteers. They're directing them over to the kayaks. Like I said, we mentioned we have the Boy Scouts that help out every year. They're fantastic, helping them get their kayaks safely in the water and safely out of the water as they return. It's a parade of volunteers, really.
Get some good help from the police as far as
It's
the
fair to tell,
bike
yes.
ride.
Yep.
Because we got to go on the road for a bit, and so they make sure we do that safely.
So now that you've been doing it, this will be your 7th year. Now, it sounds like you have all of this in place. But whoever organized it in the beginning, my hat's off to them, because that was hard.
It's been
before you-
tweaked, yes. The race has been tweaked over the years, but I think we're pretty comfortable.
We always ask for feedback
Yeah.
from people
Where we are
that
now.
have been part of the race to say, you know, what did you like, what didn't you, what can we improve? And every year there are little tweaks to the course or to how we do things, and I think there are always improvements.
Yeah.
The first year, the run brought us up this incredibly
Yes,
technical hill
Yeah.
up into by Penwood, and almost no one could run it. It was so technical and so straight up. So, did that last more than 1 year?
One
No,
year.
it lasted
Yeah.
1 year. I remember somebody broke an ankle or
Yeah.
something. I
Yeah.
remember that was not good.
But now it's beautiful, flat. It's the whole course is nice and flat. So it's
Yeah, like we said, we wanted, as Martin had mentioned earlier, you know, we are going to have those participants who are very competitive and want to come here and win. But we also want to draw in newbies to the sport. We want to make it so that they, you know, leave and finish with a great experience and excited to just continue with the triathlon world and continue to come back.
So when people contact you who have never done it before, do they have a million questions about where everything goes? and how
Actually,
to-
yes, I just got a message before I came here. I didn't have a chance to read it, but yeah, they do.
I would think so.
yeah.
I mean, because it's confusing, right? Where do you go? Where do you drop it off?
Particularly if it's one of your first events.
Right.
You have lots of questions spinning in your head, but I think that the way it's organized, we make it really friendly to people who participate regardless of their level of experience.
Have you kept any statistics about where people are coming from, how far away?
Well, the furthest we've had was Pennsylvania. So far for registrations this year, we have Massachusetts and New York would be the furthest as of right now.
It's interesting because I just got an email from somebody from Hubline Tower about something completely different, and he mentioned that last year every state was represented. Somebody
awesome.
from every single state
Oh,
stopped at Hubline Tower last year.
Yeah, that's
So I wish that for your race, right? That
Well,
eventually,
our platinum sponsor this year is Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, and it's part of their health and wellness initiative, which many companies now are beginning to really understand the importance of that kind of an initiative in businesses. Number one, for team building, and number two, for health and wellness. So we're really excited to have them as the sponsor, and their employees will be volunteering and participating in the race too.
so you bring up sponsors. I wanted to give you a chance to tell about your sponsors. Could you just tell who they are and how they help and what they do besides?
Well, the
Ensign
platinum is Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense. We also have the bicycle seller who has been with us since the first year, I do
yeah.
believe, and Collinsville Canoe and Kayak for the water piece of it. And then our newest sponsor for the run course is Sartorius Sports from Avon.
And so they contribute sort of participants, volunteers, help. What else? Do they financial
Funding
help?
and funding.
yeah.
And they all, I mean, they obviously lend their name to segments of the race.
I happen to own a kayak, but a lot of our participants can rent from Collinsville, and
Yes.
When they sign up.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they
that
have the
makes
option
it
to rent.
more accessible to folks that might not own a kayak.
And Collinsville Canoe and Kayak's great. They'll deliver the kayaks right here to the river and for the participants. So they don't have
And
to worry about
Walter,
paying,
who from
you
the
know.
bicycle seller, is on our committee and also a sponsor. He and one of our other committee members, they are in transition where all the bicycles are. So he knows how to handle bikes, he knows how to help them with tires and all
Yeah.
kinds of things. So having him as a sponsor has been wonderful over the years.
So if people contribute funding, do you have leftover funding? How much do you charge people for participating, and what happens? Is there extra money left over, and where does
Well,
that
we're
go?
hoping there's extra money left
Yeah.
over. It goes back to the town to the all these recreational activities, the bike course, the new park. Goes back into recreation.
Last year, I remember you had a kid fun run and free babysitting for families. Did that work
Correct.
out? Are you going to do that again?
No, we decided not to do that again this year, unfortunately. A lot of people didn't utilize it, and then we have to, it's more I'd rather use those volunteers out on the course and with the participants.
You mentioned, Martin, before that that people can do this as a team. How does that work, and how do people find each other to do it as a team?
I mean, it's usually friends that get together. I don't think we've had to put people together. People, on the website, it talks about the relay, and So people can do where they each do one individual event. There's some people they'll do a two-person team, and they'll do one person will do two events and one is single. There's some people that just can't run anymore, but they can ride their bike and kayak, and so there's all different options for them.
You know how we have biking clubs in town, Valley Cycling, and a lot of biking clubs, and they reach out to their members and say, look, I know you don't run anymore, but sure you can find a great partner in this. So everybody they just figure it out.
So there are three of you here. I know what you're doing. You're participating. What are the two of you doing? Are you participating? Or are you running? Are you
No,
telling people
Patty
where
and
to
I
go?
are very busy that day.
Yeah,
I'm at the race start and finish and making sure everything runs smoothly. Patty's always been the coordinator of the bike portion of the race.
Signing the course and just making sure we have volunteers in the right places with the right instructions.
So she's out on the bike course all day, making sure that runs smoothly.
So people watching this, if they want to learn more, if they get inspired, if they have, if they're not participants themselves, but they know people who might be, how do they find out more?
Our website.
What is the address for that? 'Cause we
Ridge,
changed
It's
it this year.
changed.
Ridge to River.
River to Ridge.
Oh, River to Ridge.
Ridge
Sorry.
to
Ridge to
River
River.
triathlon dot
It's your race.com.
with
And
two
we're going to put that on the
Rs.
screen for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will
Okay.
put it on the screen.
Thank
It
you.
is very long.
Yeah, it used
Yeah,
to
it
be
is.
trysimsbury.com, and I think they still redirect it.
Yes, they do.
So if you try
someone
Simsbury.com, it'll
Googles
still go to the
Try
right place, but we have
They'll
changed our...
find
We'll
it, yeah.
redirect them, so.
Ridge to River triathlon dot it's your race with two Rs.com. Yeah, it's very complicated.
And all the details are in there, all the pricing, details about the triathlon and the duathlon, and about individual racing and team racing.
So how much, I asked before, but we went off in another direction. How much does it cost to participate? How much does it cost for an individual and for a team?
Well, we just had a price increase, so I believe right now we're up to $90 for individuals and $100 for teams.
It does go up
Right.
as you get closer to the
Yeah.
race, so the earlier you sign up, the less it is.
So people who, yes.
Oh, no, I
sorry,
was going
go
to say,
ahead.
that's right, that price will hold true right until May 1st. The race is on May 3rd. So online registration will close at midnight May 1st, but they can register day of.
They can,
Yes.
when they get there.
At
And
the
they can
Performing
pick
Arts
up
Center.
their race packets if they're interested the day before at the Redstone Pub. And that will be on the website as
Yeah,
well.
all the
Okay,
information
so
will be
if you
updated.
come to town the day before,
You can pick up all
Redstone,
your materials.
the day of, the
At the Performing Arts Center, where the race begins.
You have a
and finishes.
table there.
Yeah.
This is rain or shine.
Yes, yeah. No rain
Have
date.
you ever had rain?
Last year, well, we had a lot of mud.
Knock on wood.
It was muddy.
Sprinkle and
Yeah, we had a little
mud.
mud.
And fun, and it was great.
And actually, the participants love it because we had a lot of rain earlier that week, and they just love
They
the
love
mud.
coming back in the mud.
They're like, "Oh, I hope it's muddy every year." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
They like to get down and dirty.
Yeah.
So if people in town want to watch, they want to be spectators.
Ooh, the
what's
Flower Bridge.
The Flower
Great
Bridge.
spot.
Patty's favorite space.
And May 3rd is really before they've planted, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so you get a good view. Once they've planted, it's hard to
There's
see
a lot of
over the
flowers,
flowers. Yeah.
But it's also a great chance for people to see the new park that's there, which for the first time gives visitors and residents direct access to the Farmington River for either paddleboarding, kayaking, or fishing. So it's a beautiful park. It's a whole new area near the Flower Bridge. It's worth a see, and it's one of the favorite places for bikers to stop.
As I recall, last year you changed the start time to 9 o'clock.
Correct, 9
And
a.m.
how did that work out?
Much better. I think that helped with the participant
It does.
numbers
Yeah,
as well.
People like that early start.
Yeah, in the previous years it was 11 a.m., but
Too late in the day.
I think it was
You
a
wanna
tricky
get out
time.
and-
These active
Yeah.
people, they want to be able to go home and do their yard work. So they want to they want to be able to do both.
Yeah, athletes like to just get in, do their race, and
Martin, what do you do
Go
when
on.
you're done?
Usually, I actually host some people at my house that have done it and have a barbecue or just to and relax.
I can't even. I'm just.
What I always
I'm
love
not
to
physical.
see is,
I
as
can't
we're
even
all kind
imagine.
of shutting down the course and closing up shop, I see all these cars with kayaks on the roof, and they're at all the local restaurants, and they're making a real day of it in town, which is nice.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
utilizing the town, which I love.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm involved in the tourism committee, and after the first year, I went around and took pictures of kayaks
Yes.
on top
Oh,
of
nice.
restaurants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to see whether people were really coming from
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
So when the guys come and pick up the kayaks that they've rented, where do they pick it up, and where does that big truck go?
Well, Collinsville Canoe and Kayak will deliver the kayaks right to the Flower Bridge where the transition area is. So if you rent, you don't have to worry about a thing. You'll just go right to the Flower Bridge, you'll meet with them, and they'll assign you your kayak.
So do they come with that big truck? Somebody from the Flower Bridge called me the other day and was concerned that with the new park, this truck with the kayaks, dropping off the kayaks, is going to be a problem for people who are walking and working on the bridge.
Well, it is a Sunday morning at 9 a.m., so...
So I'm not the
Yeah.
race, just
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
no,
very
and they're-
conscientious.
yeah,
I mean,
they
the
are.
people at Collinsville Canoe and Kayak are
Yeah.
very aware of where they position themselves.
So this is also the Simsbury celebrating its 350th anniversary
know,
this
it's
year. Are you
exciting.
guys involved at all? Yours is May 3rd. I think the actual anniversary day is the 17th of May.
Well, we're organizing bike rides, and of course, we'll have all the new statues from the chamber are making a return appearance this year. They were so popular last year,
I think they're coming, though, after
but they're slowly starting to place them.
there are two that
Yeah,
here now.
yeah, yeah. So we'll have bike rides as part of the year-long celebration.
There's also, as part of the 350th, there's a River Day. I think it's on Saturday, June 27th. Are you, with your interest in kayaks and stuff like that, have you thought about the race participating in any way in River Day?
Like I said, the money that we raise, goes right back to the town, and we feel that it's needed towards anything. But we will announce. I mean, this is exciting. We're all about Simsbury and helping out Simsbury in the community. So we will make announcements on the race day,
Yeah.
for
About
people to
these
come
things
back.
happening.
Yes, of course.
Because, I mean, one of the things, mention the art trail. I know,
Yeah.
that's
Like
coming
you said,
back
the
and
whole
come back
idea
and
is to
visit.
get people to keep coming back.
Yeah. Martin, to prepare for the race, what do you do?
It really is just getting on the bike as soon as possible when the warm weather hits. And I'm not, believe it, with all the cold water swimming, I'm not a cold weather cyclist. And so I wait till, maybe a couple weeks before, and because I'm living in town, I'll go do the 12-mile loop and just ride it a few times to get used to it. So,
And we'll be posting that cue sheet ahead of the race too, so if people want to come to town, be familiar with that 13-mile leg of cycling, they can come to town and do that.
But also, if you're not able to get outside, you like the cold, I mean, I do advise that people get on their stationary bikes now and just start warming up their legs. It's a good time to
Right.
start doing that.
that's right.
So you're also a nutritional consultant.
Correct.
Do you? Is this challenging enough that it's like a marathon that you tell people to?
I always say don't train to eat. I guess we'll just say that way. Eat well so you're well trained, I guess.
So I can't even imagine. I don't even know. I don't even know enough about this to ask more intelligent questions. So we have a few minutes left. Have I not asked something that we want to be telling people about?
Like all I want to mention is just remind people that the race starts and finishes right at the Performing Arts Center. We're really excited to have our platinum sponsor this year, Inside Big Fur Aerospace Defense. I mean, that was huge for us, so I want to thank them. I really appreciate that. And we will have post-race food donated by local restaurants. here
Sort
in
of a
town.
party afterwards at the Performing Arts Center.
And we'll have
Yep.
a quick, wrap up, about the race and everything, give out finishing
Awards.
medals and awards, and hopefully it's a nice day and people do stick around town and enjoy the Performing Arts Center. There's a park there for kids if families come.
Do people who finish up at the race, do they like it when their families are at the finish
Oh,
line?
yeah. So
Yeah.
they're looking for their families everywhere. That's why I think that, like you
We
mentioned.
waited. We had the kids on the Rotary Park fire engine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great fun.
Yeah, they are. And that's why I'm glad Patty mentioned the flower bridge, because I think that is one of the best places for the spectators.
One of the tough things about an event like this is marketing it, and so
Yeah.
it's marketed pretty well locally. But if your viewers, even if this isn't something they would want to do themselves,
Tell
if they
somebody.
have that niece that lives in New York that is into this, please share it.
Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So have you used the state website, the state tourism website? Are we?
Have not, but we will.
You
I
should.
think you just sent me something on that.
Yeah, I sent you something on the open house day.
Right.
But have you contacted
We
the
have
state?
not in the
Oh my
past.
goodness,
Yes.
you've got to do
Okay,
that because
we will
that
do
has
that. Mm-hmm.
statewide reach. I'll send you a
Okay,
contact.
good. And one more thing, and just when people read about the race and about the events, don't even think about being intimidated by it. The running course is flat, the biking course is flat. There is so much help with your kayak in and out of the water. This is a race for everyone.
Sounds great.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited.
I think our time is up now. I want to thank my guests, Patty Smith-Jacobus, race director Andrea Bono, and Martin Doyle McMahon, participant for 5 of the 6 years. I want to wish you good luck and good luck to all the participants. And I want to thank everybody here at SCTV for getting this show on the air. And finally, thank you for joining us. If you missed any portion of the show, you can always find it on our website at simsburytv.org. I'm Dominique Avery. See you next time on the Simsbury View.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.